People are behind me, they're watching to see what happens. It's windy again. Windy, windy, windy. Hey, what's up, Duff here? In front of you is the Inmotion V13, graciously loaned out to me by Jason at eWheels. We are entering our last weekend of V13 testing, more than likely, and I would not be doing justice if I did not try to take this wheel into the swamp. Yes, we're going to try to take the V13 into the swamp. I've never had a wheel this big or this heavy in the swamp. I think the biggest slash heaviest wheel I've ever had in the swamp was my original OG Sherman. So this is quite large, quite larger than that. So here we go. Let's see what happens. So we had a bit of excitement out my way yesterday afternoon. There was it turned out to be almost a 300-acre brush fire within a few miles of my house. And it was a quagmire, man, trying to get home from work. Thank God my Tesla has intelligent traffic navigation, because all of the major roads to get back to my house were closed, more or less. But the Tesla found one way. There was one way that I could go that was not closed, using a street I've never been on before. Tesla got me home. It was amazing. But yeah, it was a pretty bad brush fire. Here's a picture of what I saw as I was coming home yesterday, and evidently it actually wound up like exploding somebody's buried propane tank they had in their property. It was pretty bad. Smoke was really thick, and I think like one house was totally destroyed. But they got it under control and things are okay today. All right, so I'm not going to try to do anything crazy like do that full 13-mile loop around there. I just want to go in good enough to get a good sense of how the V13 handles. We are in the midst of very dry season, hence the brush fire. So I'm expecting the swamp to be relatively dry. Hopefully there's not washed out areas, all that kind of shitty stuff. Oh man, it's windy. Holy crap. Super windy. I'm glad I'm just doing slow riding today. This would kind of suck like to do a range test in this kind of wind. It's roughly a 3-mile ride from my house to the entrance of the swamp. The wheel is at 78% charge. Should be fine for this kind of ride. Curious how it's going to feel. I double checked my shock pressure before leaving. Have it like 160-ish, something like that. So we'll see how it feels. I've got my shit stomper boots on today just in case. When you're going into the swamp, sneakers are not recommended footwear, based on past experience. Now entering the limestone section of the ride-in. Lots of little micro bumps. So we'll see how this feels. It's okay, guys. You don't have to go. Scared some birds here in the water. They look like anhingas. Anhingas. That suspension feels like it's doing a decent job of rounding off the sharp edges of these little washboarded out areas. Yeah, not bad at all. Not the best that I felt, but certainly gets the job done. Parking lot was quite full. Lots of people even parked out into the road. So, but usually people do not go very deep in here, so I don't think it'll be too bad. But this is the path that leads to the boardwalk that leads to the swamp. Yeah, probably past 10 people already. Busy day at the swamp. Hitting some cypress knees here. Yeah, it feels pretty good. Didn't take long. Right there's a small gator hanging out. There's another guy. Just chilling. It's kind of early in the morning. It's like 10-ish maybe, so Gators come out early to warm up. So far the cypress knees. So far the path seems nice and dry. That's what I like. Right, Dan? Dan and I know what happens when the path isn't so nice and dry. It's not much fun. Here's Florida's version of single track. I'm just following the narrow path that's been beaten down by foot traffic. Okay, so I've made the left turn. This is where you're heading back to the actual loop portion of the trail. And you go back a couple miles, and then right here, it splits to a left and a right side. And no matter what direction you go, there's only one way out. Although there is a connector now that goes up to some trails in Bonita that I did that one time on the S18, which was miserable. But we're gonna go this way, and I'm not quite sure how far we're gonna go. We shall see. But so far, the V13 feels okay, you know, despite its heft, despite its size. I'm maneuvering it just fine. You know, I'm able to do whatever I need to do so far. I think it might get tough, like if it was a situation where the swamp was really wet and I was constantly having to dismount and mount. I think that would get tiresome pretty quick. But as long as I can keep rolling, it feels pretty good. Okay, I've gotten 2 reports about an agitated gator on the path. And I see him up here. Interesting. It's odd for him to be walking like that, or her. It's interesting. I don't know how well you can see him. I've never had one walking like this. Now he sits down. Interesting. Usually they're always just laying there. It's interesting. Well, let's get a little closer and see what he does. Again, you're zoomed out. So, but he's sitting right there. Come on, buddy, you want to move? You're scaring people. Ugh. He's not that big. He's definitely not that big. Ugh. You gonna stay there if I go past you? What do you think? You're gonna stay there? I mean, you're not very big. We're having a Mexican standoff. I mean, I could just... All right, let me back up and I'll accelerate past him. But like I said, that is weird behavior to have him walk like that. All right, buddy, you ready? People who are behind me, they're watching to see what happens. Okay, buddy. All right. I guess you just wanted to go for a walk. That's the first time I've had to do that. That's the first time I've ever passed a gator that was walking. But just, I don't know. He was just chilling, I guess. But I have to admit, my heart rate is elevated. I cannot lie. And actually, I lied. Here is the split of the paths. I actually wasn't even on the split yet. That's early to have a gator on the path there. Usually once you get to this part, this is where you start seeing more gators. V13, I'm sure the V13 is impressive to a gator. They know to steer clear. Like I mentioned, the first day that I had the V13, I pumped the shocks up to 200 PSI, and I commented how it felt stiffer than I enjoyed. Right here at 160, even on swamp terrain where you're hitting rocks and lots of roots and stuff, uneven ground, this feels good. It can definitely hack it. There's some big. There you go. You know, I feel them, but they're not crushing my. They're not crushing my knees. They're not crushing my back, which is all I care about. Ooh, there's a lot. Ooh, there's a lot of big ones. Now, because of the weight of this wheel, you know, there's no getting around the fact that it's 110 pounds. If you accidentally have the weight shift one side on you, you're gonna have to fight to bring it back a little bit. But you get more used to it. The more you ride it, the more you get used to it. Now I'm getting into the point of the trail where you basically, you can't avoid the roots and the uneven territory. We're at the spot where less human beings travel. As you get deeper back here, it's going to be mostly, you know, people on mountain bikes and stuff. Looking for some more gators. Probably can't see it very well. There's a gator there. It looks like a much larger gator there based on the body size and the tail. Quite big. This is not an ideal spot to stop because the brush. Gators can hide in here. Like right there, you see like that path. That's kind of a slide spot where they would come across the path and go into that water. So that's the biggest one I've seen so far. Yep. First dump I came off here, came off the side a little bit. Came off the side a little bit, it was loose, and it slid out on me. These things happen in the swamp. I know Marty had talked a little bit about the trolley handle in the V13. It's nice and sturdy. You know, it's metal. It's metal as opposed to what the Sherman S has. But the thing that sucks is the gripping area they give you. Like if you're just on a parking lot or hard surface, sure, it's fine in your house to trolley it around. But like if you're in a spot where the wheel is you're like pushing uphill, or it could be getting bumped left and right, you don't have enough leverage here in this handle to control it very well. It's a 110-pound wheel, so yeah, trolley handle, okay for mundane things. For more rugged things, not so good. One of the problems when you get to this part of the trail is, you know, I still want to look around to see if there's any gators around. It sounded like a gator growling actually. But I have all of these roots and stuff on the trail, so if I'm not paying attention to them and I hit one at a bad angle, bad things happen. So I'm trying to look ahead, look to the side quick, look ahead, look to the side quick, rinse and repeat. That's something I've never seen before, a dead gator, and there's a whole bunch of buzzards that are working on it. I've never seen a dead gator in the swamp before. And yeah, it definitely smells dead. Oof. That's all right, guys, you can go back to doing whatever you're doing. Okay, I'm turning around, going a few miles in. Like I said, I wasn't gonna do a full loop, no way, no how, don't have time. And yeah, just don't really need to do that. I just want to kind of get a sense on how the V13 would do. You know, going nice and slow, letting the bumps eat up, or let the suspension eat up the bumps for the most part. And I haven't had a large difficulty maneuvering in here, so that's good. That's kind of what I wanted to see. And we got to have a gator walking at us and see a dead gator. So it sounds like a pretty full plate to me. There was my wipeout spot. No wipeouts this time. The key here is when you're in an area where you can't avoid going over roots, make sure you hit the center of it. You don't want to, you know, kind of slide off the side, because that's when wonky stuff starts happening. Of course, that applies to all trail riding, right? Hit the center of an obstacle if possible. Okay, we're coming up to where my buddy was, I believe. The people that were scared to go by, they eventually went by. I guess it sounds like he parked himself on the side of the path, I guess. And once they saw me go past, they realized that he wasn't that big. So let's see. I don't see him yet though. Where are you at, buddy? As I mentioned before, the pedals in the V13, they're not spectacular looking, but they do definitely seem to get the job done. Yeah, my feet feel pretty firmly attached. Not as good as, like the E-Rides pedals that I have on the Sherman S, but these are definitely passable. If you're in situations where grip is a premium, you're going to probably want to upgrade them. But if you're just doing like primarily open road cruising, pedals should do the job for you. Didn't see the little guy. He must have jumped back into the water. That's good. Yeah, sometimes I forget that the V13 is a 22-inch wheel. I mean, that's the diameter of my original Gen 1 Monster. And I can tell you, when I had that Monster, there's no way I ever entertained the idea of taking it into the swamp. It was not the faintest of ideas in my head. So just the fact that I am able to do that on the V13 is a statement to its flexibility and capabilities. Very solid wheel. On my way out, there's like a parade of people coming in right now. My goodness, so many people. When I first started coming here, I mean, it was like a ghost town. You would see maybe 1 or 2 people, but now the word is out, and a lot of people like coming out here. That have never seen alligators before. This is a good place to wet your whistle. All right, back out on the Limestone Road and heading home. I'm ready for lunch. Okay, I am back at the house. According to the wheel, that was a 14-mile ride. And I started at 78% and I went down to 61%. So, and mostly slow riding, obviously. So, wheel performed well. To be quite honest, when I first got this, I was questioning if I even wanted to take it to the swamp just because of its size and weight. But it wasn't a huge deal. It performed well, and got to have some new gator experiences as well. So that's all good. So again, I want to take a second to thank Jason at eWheels for allowing me to demo this wheel. The only other thing I want to do is I want to do a proper range test, and that will probably happen tomorrow. I'll put this in the charger, get it fully charged, and see what kind of mileage I can get out of it. We will see what happens in my conditions, in my scenario. So if you found this video interesting, please give it a big thumbs up. If this is your first time visiting the channel, please consider subscribing. If you're going to subscribe, you can hit the notify bell that's over there somewhere. Feel free to leave your comments, suggestions, ideas, and thoughts below. How do you think the V13 did in that range test? How do you think the V13? I got a range on my mind. How do you think the V13 did in the swamp? I think it did well. All things considered, I thought it performed admirably. Big thanks to my channel members. Here's my current channel members. I just updated the list, so here is my current channel members. Occasionally I've been trying to post videos just to my members at first for, I don't know, however long I want to do it. But so that is one of the several perks that you do get for membership. You can find the details about membership by hitting the join button down below. It'll tell you all about it. And yeah, I think that's it, guys. Hope you have a great weekend. Until next time, Duffman out. Elsa. Alexa, stop. Hello. Elsa. I saw gators. I saw gators. Yes, I did. Do I smell like a gator? I saw a dead gator too.